what do you have to say about the tunnels that the IDF has been just showing us? In fact, if you could play that on the BG, this new elaborate network of tunnels that the IDF...
the tunnels, there are 2-3 varieties of tunnels, like we have the national highways.
Right.
And there are arterial roads.
Yes.
So similarly, tunnels which are going to be used frequently.
Right.
They are very well strengthened and for a lot of traffic.
Right.
Some tunnels are just devised as escape routes and all.
Yes.
They'll be very rudimentary and made by very rudimentary workers.
Right.
So they'll be not as good designs. So photographs which we are seeing are presently the elaborate tunnels, akin to the national highways which I'm talking about.
Right. That's a very good simile. I mean, this main highway and then the arterial road. So these are very well strengthened, they're reinforced. There's a lot of these concrete, those distinct U-shaped concrete arches that we were talking about the last time.
So this is where what they have done is ki on the side there are columns and on the top there is the arch beam which they have to put, and that takes on the load.
That's a bit like a cathedral.
Yes. So this is a design, and this is a design most of the European and archaic design, jo old designs hai.
Right.
So from there they have got this. This symbol to make, they make pieces and they just keep adding on to it.
Right, like a concrete tube with these arches on top.
These arches keep adding on, and as we keep moving and all, it gives support.
So, Colonel Singh, is it a function of the soil and the, the ground, the geology of the region where it's been done?
Yes, it's very important to understand that. See, it is not that the geology will be one straight, flat rock.
Yeah.
It will have different, but this side it is hard clay. So it is easy to construct. Right. There will be some stones and on the way, but mostly now if you compare with our Uttarakhand, it is primarily rocky content, high content of rocky. Right. So this is easy to cut and then just have these arch beams and columns.
And these would be dug by hand or by machines, or how would they have been drilled?
Let's now, very good question. So let's understand this. If one casualty which is so unfortunate which has happened in India, it is taking us all our efforts at a higher level to rescue those people.
Right.
And here definitely there would be some accidents and all that. Absolutely. But since they are very small in size and there would be casualties and would be happening, but would be taken care of. So what I'm trying to say, ki a very high technology is required. So, but these are very simple because the the earth content is very simple.
They're not very difficult to dig through.
Yes, they're not difficult to. So they've used basic machines.
Right. Like what would be a basic machine?
Basic machine, would you see, we start from the hand shovel. The hand shovel, which will can be used through and then we can use augers.
Right.
Augers also very simple, and then can be used in different lengths we get. Augers and hand machine will be the one. They will not have been used extensive, superior technology for these things.
And this obviously has taken them years to drill and move in the reinforcements.
It has, because like I said, first they would have made one, they did reinforcement, then more and more kept adding to it. Because earth disposal, like last time we discussed, without being tracked by the Israelis is also phenomenal, because the earth which is coming out from there would have been slowly disposed of in farming and gardening and whatever and all that. So it's a very slow process. Which has been done through the years,
and
a lot of small
very deliberately
teams.
done.
Yes. So a lot of reinforcements also you see in various forms they have put, so that it doesn't cave in. So they have used it as on the main tunnels.
Hostages, you think, could they be held in tunnels of the kind that we are just looking at? There are a lot of living facilities. We've seen bathrooms, toilets, sanitation facilities underground. So is it possible that
definitely the hostages will be inside the tunnels? Firstly, and they will not be at one place. For all these days, no. Every 2 to 3 days they would be moving the hostages.
So they're constantly
they are constantly moving because the Israelis are also tracking the movement of where they are. So some pictures we get, see they're moving through the hospital somewhere, you're getting some clips, yes, possibly the hostages. Moment they get to know where they are, then they'll just surround that area and they'll block the tunnels. But they'll not be static at one place. The hostages will be moving out, and this is the best place to keep the hostages. In the tunnel, you can't get, there's no communication, you can't get to them.
So it's, there's no doubt in your mind now, after looking at these facilities that the Hamas has built underground, that it is safe for human habitation. And
yes, it is for long duration of time.
For long duration.
Yes, long duration
of
time.
So it would be like, for want of a better simile, being in a submarine underwater.
Now submarine is still very difficult, but this is here it is more comfortable than a submarine because you have access to sunlight and all that.
Yes,
slowly you can move out and all that.
So that's what the idea seemed to say, that a lot of these tunnels were linked to apartment blocks, and like you said the last time, that they would just be linked up to basements.
Yes.
Going from one building to the other.
Basement would be the entry point. All the basement, because entry point is very difficult to make. Otherwise, it will cave in.
Right.
So they use a normal basement and then go laterally and connect. And so they would have chosen buildings and like masjids and everywhere they would have connected the subways, and that
those would be the tunnel entrances, and from there they would kind of
and they are safe havens. These schools, the hospitals, then if you come into the public eye, this is going to be a safe haven. You can't bombard the hospitals, schools, because children and civilians are involved.
Our executive editor Aditya Raj Kaul, meanwhile, spoke with Israel's ambassador to India, Naor Gilon. Let's listen in.
What is the future of the Hamas terror group right now, and after the ceasefire really ends, how are you going to continue this war? Because already when the war cabinet was announced and there was a meeting, there was apparently a heated argument, and in fact even the national security minister seems to say that if the war doesn't continue, I have nothing to do with the government. So what is the future of this war?
As I said before, we have to eliminate Hamas's leadership over or ruling over Gaza. We have to liberate Gaza from them. This is the only way for us to survive. So I think there is consensus in Israel. Also, if you saw the war cabinet, which includes also Gantz from the opposition who joined just now for the war, they all say very clearly, we are going to continue. There is no way anyone is going to stop us. The hope is to stop us, but we cannot stop, because if we stop, we are going to live in risk to the rest of our lives. And Hezbollah in the north that are operated by Iran, everyone is operated by Iran. I think this is also an important point to say. When you look at what's happening, Iran is the head of the snake. Iran has in the Middle East, in West Asia, they has 4 armed wings that they are training, financing and equipping. And the 4 are, I'll start with Hezbollah, the closest in the north. Hezbollah Shiites, and Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, announced himself or presented himself as the soldier in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. So this is Shiites, flesh and blood of Iran, probably the closest to Iran. The second one is Hamas, who are Sunnis, a different group, but they have a joint target, elimination of Israel. So Hamas has no other target. It's not about a two-state solution or anything. From the river to the sea, elimination of Israel, this is exactly Hamas. And then you have the Houthis in Yemen, who are also Shiites, strongly connected to Iran. And you have the militias, the Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria. It's the same groups. And all 4 of them are trying to engage Israel in different levels, different ways. So you understand they're all connected to Iran. You see the Iranian foreign minister immediately, the first week after October 7th, already went to Lebanon, met the heads of all the terror organizations there, and are continuing and are speaking, and also in the BRICS and every place in the UN, wherever they are, the Iranians there are leading the camp. And one has to understand also the problem. And if you try to understand why all of it is happening, part of the explanation for sure is the change in the last 3 years in West Asia. So from the Abraham Accords, from the time that the UAE and Bahrain and then Morocco joined, and now we were speaking and will hopefully also speak in the future to Saudi Arabia, there is like a new group of countries who are trying to improve the region, to make the lives of people better, to the I2U2 economic projects that are coming out of it, India, Israel, US, UAE, and now India presented in G20, the IMEC, the corridor, that sea and land corridor that will be from India to the Mediterranean through UAE or the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel. So all of that, I think they wanted also to disrupt that, because they don't like when the moderate powers in the world unite to improve their lives. They want their own way of living. So it's a big challenge that we have here, but we are going to prevail. The only thing that we are asking the world, don't disturb us. Don't go for the fake news. There is suffering. There is always suffering in war. There is suffering on both sides in the war. But this is something that has to be done. We have to eradicate ISIS, Hamas. No one told the Americans or the international coalition, don't eradicate ISIS in Iraq and Syria. So you know, it has to be done for the benefit, for the well-being of the future of all of us.
So that's the Israeli IDF military spokesperson Daniel Hagari basically doing a very professional journalist-like walkthrough, what we call, through one of these tunnels.
So notice on the side, as I said, the columns are ending, and on top of it, these are arch beams,
right?
And they're resting on this.
Yes.
There's no connect. They just put this thing, and the weight it will hold on.
Right.
So there's very simplistic design. I'll say this is a very simplistic design, and just continue on this.
So you wouldn't need to be like a combat engineer or something to design something like this?
No.
A very basic skills.
Basic, like in villages we have our basic masons and all. They could do it, because you can't use the design here because of the secrecy.
Right.
We have to have very simple design which can be constructed by local people and all that. That's what has been done here. It's a very local design.
So there would be a facility that would, that's the bathroom that we see there. And there would be a facility to actually fabricate all these concrete
So if you see
structures.
that arch which you have seen,
yes,
it could be part of any building structure.
Right.
So when it is being fabricated, no one would
know what it is.
Some house is being made, and these are the arches being used in there, in mosques and schools and places. They are using these arches,
right.
And the same thing has been used here.
Yeah.
So you can't suspect this is something. And columns are straight columns, nothing very big columns or something.
And the reason we are calling this the truth about tunnels is the fact that the IDF indicates that a lot of the tunnel lighting and ventilation and electricity supply actually came from the hospital.
Correct.
Overground. So they were actually drawing from
So that is the source from where the light and electricity is like water from here would have come from the hospital. From the building, the school or wherever it is.
Yes.
So this is the place, and this will be near to that hospital or school.
Right.
The in between tunnel will be blank just for walking or storing, and that it can be used.
And in fact, there was a revelation by one of the former Israeli prime ministers where he actually spoke that the bunker complex under the hospital had actually been built by Israel while Hamas, while Gaza was under Israeli occupation. And of course, the tunnel complex seems to have been an addition that Hamas made in the last decade or so since they captured.
Here's another thing I'd like to add on to the tunnel thing.
Yeah.
See, since they don't have a technology, all these arch beams are very simple, where it can be lifted by 2 to 3 people.
Right.
And if you see the girders in metro highway and all, there are big cranes required to lift it also.
Gigantic, yeah. These would be 2-man, 3-man.
3-man lift, they'll just lift it and put it. So see the design. It will be very small, lifted by just local people can lift it and do it. No technology is involved.
And then pushed by hand, you think, or would some
they would have
machine
used
be
rollers.
used to?
Sometimes to lift, we use the concept of sling technology.
Right.
Where derrick is used. Just one derrick is what? Just one pole, and you have a pulley.
Right.
So you just lift it through that derrick. So very simple, rudimentary, I'll say technology. Because there is no technology, big technology used, like for shifting stores and all this.
So what are these pipes that we are seeing in the tunnel? This is for electricity?
These are all electrical cables. This is electric cable. Black is electric cable. These have been added on, and you see how it has been hung. No, I'll say no designer or something. If it's simple layman, just put a nail and just hang this and keep moving on.
Right, and this seems to be just wide enough for one person to enter. It would be about 6 feet high and about 4 feet wide.
Increase the span on the top, then that design gets heavier. Then lifting becomes heavier. Bringing here becomes a difficult problem. So they had to limit this, so the span is limited. You just see the span on top. It's very limited span. So they'll have cast it and then bring it here and install it. So they have to keep in mind the construction process. It has to be very basic.
So this entire tunnel is actually concrete. It's basically like we said earlier, it's a concrete tube.
Yes, it's a concrete tube.
And it's assembled by section by section.
Yes, that is the beauty of this is this. That is assembled by piece by few people. No technology, just few people just keep shifting it, doing it, and they will be doing it slowly and keep moving.
So are there lessons for us? Can the Indian Army, for instance, learn from this kind of technology to use in our forward areas?
No, I don't think so, because see, here secrecy was of paramount importance. So they can't use technology. Where if secrecy is not, it's our own side, we can use technology. We can do this, what they have done in years, might be in a month or a few months we can do, because we can use technology.
On a larger scale, of course.
So that is the thing. The secrecy was very important, so they had to go for rudimentary design, and only by manpower manually they had to lift these concrete structures.
So here's Admiral Hagari explaining the arch structure and the complete structure of the tunnel, and obviously it's entirely concrete. That is the interesting part. And like you said, it's clay because the ground is all clay.
Yes.
They had to basically make a concrete tube.
If you see that region, that is all desert region.
Yes.
Arid land.
Yeah.
So they'll have only this soft.
And close to the sea as well.
Close to the sea.
Yeah.
So this is easily made.
So the Israeli ambassador there largely outlining what the official government line is, that there will be no Israeli occupation of the Gaza Strip after the operations are over, and more importantly, that Israel will pursue Hamas globally. And Colonel Singh, we know what that means. Israel's Mossad fanning out across the world and going after Hamas wherever they may be. So this is essentially a conflict that's going to last for several more years.
See, I feel like there's one of the interviews somewhere they were saying, somebody asked a question, why are you killing civilians?
Yeah.
Only Hamas should be. Firstly, it is very difficult to identify who is Hamas and who is a civilian.
Right.
That is first
because
point.
Hamas has stopped wearing uniforms.
So that is one point. But you should see, if anywhere, if you see a civilian is tortured and everybody is watching,
right,
then they are part of that militant organization. If you're not doing, anybody is not doing anything, and a torture is happening in a civil street,
right,
that means everybody is Hamas then.
Right.
I am very convinced. Somebody will poke in and stop this. This should not happen. If nobody is there, then you're part of that. I can understand.
Right.
You're under pressure if militants are there and that. But here you're not stopping. You're not intervening.
This is the October 7th incident when there were widespread
videos
that were circulated.
After that also somewhere I heard they had caught some Israelis and they were pulling them across the street. And everybody was watching. And some were cheering. Cheering, absolutely. So that means if they are not Hamas, this is Hamas then.
Yes.
If their whole ideology has been so much changed in such a way that they don't see that pain and agony in another person.
Hostages and
so that is sad. So that is why the Israelis are trying to prove to the world that there is no civilians in this.
Right.
Everybody is a Hamas, because if the public is like that, then the whole public has to be
has been radicalized. Large parts of it have been radicalized. And given the death toll as well, it seems like there is going to be a Hamas 2.0 at some point in the future. There would be newer groups emerging out of this conflict.
Yes, that is another I'll say
there
effect.
Is that,
after effect is this, that people who are straight, they'll also get converted somehow. They'll get.
And there's that demon in Indian mythology, Rakta Bij, where his blood engenders the thing of many more new demons.
No, so see, you understand this. This may be a story. I don't know about that aspect. I couldn't comment. But I'm just saying, see the essence. Now, when this is happening, now when Israelis kill civilians, now there'll be some people who will be tormented. See, this is not correct. So that is the blood.
Right.
You are killing so many people, then somebody will get agonized.
Yes.
A small child will get agonized. This was not correct.
News9 Plus. Download now.